Okay, there we go.
Okay, so I will call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Um, we've got to do the roll call, so we've got to do things a little differently today since Sam's not here. So Violetta, I'm going to lean on you a little bit for roll calls, if that's okay. Just so we can have a audio of who's all here. So if you want to go ahead and do a roll call with who's the Samsung? Can you sorry, hang on one second. Can you
Okay.
let them up to the panel real quick? So I'm not sure who that is.
That's going to be me, Gabby.
Oh, hi. Okay, I don't know if
Hi.
I can rename
I
you.
was, yeah, I was trying to put my name on there and it wouldn't let me.
That's all good. No worries. All right. I can't rename you. So
Okay.
we'll just leave you as it is. Okay. I think we're good though. All right. Violetta, if you wouldn't mind doing a roll call real quick.
Absolutely. So roll call, Angel Rivera,
Yes. Here.
Gabriela,
Yes, here.
Terry Moore,
Here.
Ray Gomez.
Here.
And should I say myself, Violetta Paxton?
Yep.
Here.
Okay. We have a quorum of our board members. The only one missing is Christine, so we should be able to move forward. So Alexis, if you want to display the flag real quick, we'll do the pledge. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, we'll just start moving through approval of this agenda. Because we were unsure how many bars there were going to be this month, prior to the finance meeting, Sam had put 3 placeholders on there, but there's only going to wind up being 2 bars on the agenda. So the only modification I'm going to request that we make is to strike out that 3rd bar. But outside, so I guess my motion will be to approve the agenda as is minus that 3rd bar because we don't have a 3rd bar. So if somebody wouldn't mind second. Okay. And then all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. All right. And then approval of last meeting's minutes. I went through them earlier. They look fine to me. So I will make a motion then to approve the 10/8/25 minutes as they are written in the meeting minutes.
And I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. All right, I just saw Josh join, so we can move right over to finance stuff. If you wouldn't mind promoting Josh, and we can go through those. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How's everyone?
Hanging in there.
Good. All right. So let me share my screen with you all. Can everyone see the check register?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so here's the check register for October. We had some additional AP from last year here on the first line from El Paso Electric Company of $16,000 roughly. So that is one of the last APs that we know about that's still outstanding at this point. It was recorded in this year's audit for the auditors to book accordingly. So we assume that is going to be the last of last year's outstanding AP. A couple of the other longstanding, or not longstanding, but higher expenses include the normal monthly expenses such as Genuine Foods, Herrera school buses, rent from UMB Bank, the loan payoff, which is UMB Bank trustee. We have two expenses this month because we were catching up with last month. We received the bill a little bit late, so we paid we paid August and September and October's loan payments here. We're all caught up with that now. The bills we're going to the previous third person, but now it's going straight to the school, so we shouldn't see any drop off in paying on the on paying on time when it comes to those expenses. Um, Other than that, there aren't too many high expense items when it comes to the platform payments. I'll move down to show you the P card payments. A lot of action here now that the P card is being used, mostly for supplies and materials to up for upkeep for the school. And then, of course, we have our payroll on the 15th and the 30th down here on anything liability related, such as ERB, here for $81,000 up top. Any questions regarding the expenses for October?
No,
Any
but I will
questions
make
regarding
one quick
vendors?
comment just from something we were talking about in the finance meeting yesterday. So there's a lot of Amazon charges and things on here, and it's because our standing with Amazon was not great when we split from our third-party vendor. So as we continue to build that rapport with Amazon and places like Home Depot and Lowe's, our credit, for lack of a better word, at those places and our word will get better. And so eventually we'll be able to stop using the P card for these purchases and then start using the invoice processing system, how it's intended for us to use. So this is hopefully more of just kind of a limbo until we can establish good enough credit with them so that we can start doing it how it's intended to be done. But for now, this is the Band-Aid that we're
Right,
closely monitoring.
right. I do want to mention that we do have backup documentation for all of the expenses regarding to relating to the P card. It's quite difficult when you don't have invoices to match up with the backup documentation, but the school's doing a really good job. So come audit time, we'll have all the necessary things to show documentation that is linked with these expenses with the P card.
No questions from me.
Okay,
Okay.
seeing none. Move on to the bank reconciliation. The school started with a balance at the beginning of October of roughly $497,000. It had receipts of roughly $957,000 and disbursements of $689,000 roughly. So it's a positive net activity for the month, which means that we're gaining on our bank and have a good fund balance at towards month to month. So when SEG does drop in spring, we'll have a good bank balance at that point in time where we'll see a little bit of a negative bank activity, or at least we assume so. There was outstanding payments from the previous month of around $10,000 with a couple of voids of around $1,000. The expected general ledger and general ledger both match, which indicates clean books, and I do not have any JEs to present to the board to approve. All in all, the school ended October with $765,839.45. So we're gaining the bank month to month. And if you were here in the summer months, you can tell that the bank has grown quite exponentially. So we're in a really good spot at this point in time, and it's only going to look better as the year is going to progress. Okay, any questions on the bank reconciliation?
Nope.
Okay. I have two bars to present. The first one is an increase bar. The school received an increase on a fund that it already had of $10,000 to be used for an HR consultant. So the expense will be used for support services with the object code of other services for $10,000. And we have another bar that's a maintenance bar. This is just a movement of expenses that was approved by the fund analyst for the New Mexico Outdoor Learning Grants. The board decided to, or ask the fund analyst if we can move $1,500 that was supposed to be used for gardening consultants into supplies, which will be used for more supplies having to do with the outdoor learning grants, such as plants and gardening utensils. Any questions regarding the bars?
Did you say yesterday how much we've spent from the outdoor learning one yet? I can't remember.
I did not say, but it's pretty minimal at
Right.
this time compared to how big the grant is.
Okay.
But that a lot of that has to do with just us the priorities in which the pre-card is being used is mostly for supplies for the upkeep of the school and getting the school year started. So my assumption will be that we'll start cutting away at this grant as the year progresses.
Okay. Cool.
And that's all to be presented that the board will need a vote on.
Okay. Do you want to do the board presentation before we vote?
Sure, I can, absolutely.
Yes, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so here is November's forecast for the school. The revenue did increase due to the increase of the REC grants. Also, the school did receive a GOB library grant. I don't have the bar for that to present to the board because it needs to go through PED, full execution of the contract in order for us to present that bar. But I did add it in the forecast. The school also did receive funds of insurance recoveries for the break-in that occurred last April, May. So the school received $1,836 for that. Expenses increased with GOB library grants and RSC grants to match those expenses. So all in all, still a solid fund balance. We do we do believe that the school will carry over around $1 million into next year, which will help offset the expenses that we anticipate to see for the following years, um, and then be in a better spot moving forward because of that. This is inclusive of the bond covenant of $215,000, which is still in the bank, but we need to have the bond covenant to show that the school has enough to cover in expenses of $215,000 if it so needed to.
For the I don't remember if it was the PEC or the PED when they levied that percentage on us that we had to keep in the bank after what happened in July with payroll. Do we have to let somebody know that we've got that amount now, or just
They'll know at the end of the year.
okay?
So the way it's built in the budget for on PED side is it's like restricted funds that we can't touch.
Okay,
So it's inclusive of this ending fund balance, but it's still in the school's fund balance as a whole.
right. Because eventually we'll be able to use it. We just can't do it now because we're
Exactly.
in the
Right.
non.
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing that they started doing for instances like this, just to make sure that the school is kind of withholding that much money to make even at the end of the year. I think of it kind of like as a PED's own kind of covenant.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what the cash flow looked like for the remainder of the year, November to June. You'll see the bank balance will rise, and then we'll start seeing a lack of SEG funding around February, March, and that's when we'll start using the bank balance to pay for our expenses. So all in all, we'll have around 24 anticipated around 24 days of cash on hand, but it's really dependent on the spending of the school. The school's doing a really good job at executing its spending and keeping it to a minimum. So this could even raise, but we won't really know until we get closer to the end of the year and probably around the beginning of quarter 4 to really know.
Cool.
All right, this is that cash flow in graph format. you'll see the rise in the bank funds and then dip down as we get closer to the end of the year. And this is a report, this is a quarterly report that we have to submit to PED. I know it's a little bit hard to see, so I'll zoom in. What this is it shows the balance from the past year of every fund that the school has. And then we have to input the revenue, expenditures, and liabilities for each one of these funds and make sure that it matches the bank balance of the school. So it goes through every single fund that the school currently has at the end of the year and currently has this year, all revenues and expenditures. And then it ties out to around $3 million revenue, $2.1 million in expenditures, with liabilities being inclusive of that. And when you put all these numbers in there, it will match the bank balance at the end of Q1. So at the end of September, which was $485,000. This is our bank account here. We had some net outstanding checks that needed to clear around $12,000. And when you take that into account, it matches the cash report matches that of the bank balance at the end of Q1. So this was submitted in October, and PED is currently reviewing it. Okay. So some accomplishments. We have a strong fund balance. The school is keeping to the budget. The Q1 cash report has been submitted. Right now, in the next coming days, we're hoping that the audit will be finally completed. We have an exit interview within the next 2 weeks. So we don't see any hiccups in missing that interview. So we're on schedule there. The charter renewal hearing is happening at the beginning of December. So that's coming up. As far as future items are concerned, some kitchen grants funds we plan to use and submit some notice of obligation forms to the Department of Finance so they can approve those and we can move forward with being reimbursed on any expenses regarding the kitchen grants. And then we're also working with the state on some capital outlay opportunities for the school.
And can you let everybody know real quick the status of the procurement audit? Or do we know?
The status of the lunch procurement audit?
Yes.
Yes. So we're at the final stretch of that. We're looking for some marketing related to the RFP that was the RFP for the lunch vendor that is currently outstanding. That's basically the only thing that's outstanding. So we're looking through any and all of past files in order to find that information. But other than that, everything else has been submitted. That audit, they'll release their findings at the beginning of December. So we'll find out the changes, if any, that need to be made to the school's lunch procurement program.
Okay. And then just because it's your segment right now, Axiom does not typically do presentations in December. So they just do November's and they do January's due to the end of the year closeouts as well as all of the charter renewal hearings. So this will probably be the last time we hear from Josh this year unless we have specific questions for him that he's always happy to answer, or at least willingly answers, whether he's happy to or not. So
Always happy to.
yeah. So, yeah, I don't have any questions right now. I think everything else finance-wise, except for the calendar thing,
Right.
that we have to make a couple changes to, and we'll have to vote on that next meeting since it wasn't on the agenda already. I think we're good from there, from you. Does anybody else have any other questions about this stuff? Okay, then I'm gonna make a quick motion before I forget. to approve the check register, the bank reconciliation, and bars 581-000-2526-0009-1 and 0010-1, as Josh explained them and showed them on the screen.
And just a correction on that one, on that last one,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
zero
thank
zero
you.
one one zero
I
M.
thought I caught them all. All right. So 581-000-2526-0010-M was the second one.
Second.
Okay, Violetta, can you do a quick roll call on that one since it's all money?
Yes, so Angel Rivera,
Yes.
Ray Gomez,
Yes.
Terry Moore,
Yes.
Gabriela Graham,
Yes.
and Violetta Paxton, yes.
All right, perfect. Motion passes. So, Josh, thank you for your time tonight. We will let you go unless anybody else has any save rounds. No? All right. Have a great night, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you.
All right. Finances check over to you, Alexis.
All right, I am promoting Cameron. I think I did that right. Let me try that again. Oh, there we go. All right, so for our teacher spotlight today, we have our 6th grade math teacher, Cameron Keller. So she's going to give us a 5-minute overview of her flavors and what's happening in her class. So Cameron, you're up.
Hello. So this quarter in 6th grade math, I have 2 separate flavors. The first one is called Math State Fair. And in that one, they get to play some fair games in class. I have 3 of them. I have Velcro darts, ring toss, and knock the cans. I changed them up based on what we're doing in the very beginning. They were just going over the basics of a number line, positive, negatives, and counting on it. So I kind of adjusted the games to where each one of them had their own point values, whether that was plus points or minus points. And they got to do stations and move around and keep track of those scores. And at the end, they combined all their scores together, and without even knowing it, they added and subtracted with negative numbers. So then when we actually did the lesson, they were like, oh, we did this already. And then their flavor assessment, they are creating their own booth at a state fair. So they could choose anything really. I gave them the options of like doing a game. Maybe they wanted to sell some items. One even wanted to create a ride. So she made like a whole roller coaster experience. And then another one, it was like an experience type where he loves planes. So he wanted to display a bunch of different airplanes. And then I brought some examples just to show, like this is a game one that somebody did of a Nerf one. And then this one was like a toss the target game too. And in the next few weeks, they're actually going to be creating models of their booths to have those to display in the classroom. And then my other flavor is Game On, and that one is board games based. The games that I have for them in the classroom are Monopoly, Battleship, and Guess Who. And kind of similar to the state fair flavor, I've changed up parts of the game to where when they do certain things, they get points. So like in Monopoly, if they roll an even number, they get plus 1 point. If they roll an odd number, it's minus 1. If they get money from the bank, then it's plus points. And if they have to pay, then it's minus. And similar to the other one, they get that score in the end, and by the time they're done, they're adding positives and negatives. With the Guess Who game, I did it similar. That one's a little harder just because it's a little bit more of a simple game, but they got plus points if they got to like put little people down in the game, and minus points if they didn't get any. And then Battleship is a really good one for this quarter because Battleship is a coordinate plane, and that is a big chunk of our standards. So once we learned how to plot points and do all that, I had them do this activity in class, which was where they got to plot their own ships on there using points instead of actual ships. And then they played with the partner to find each other's ships on the coordinate plane. And then for that class, the flavor assessment, they're creating their own board games. And they were able to base them off of an already existing game, or they were able to create their own and design the rules and what it looks like. And for that one right now, they only have their sketches. So like this is one where someone based it off of Sonic. And then another one, she does ballet. So she did hers ballet themed. And similar to the state fair game, in the next coming weeks, they'll be actually creating that board game so that they can play them with each other.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's really neat.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I just want to congratulate you, Ms. Cameron. Definitely as an educator myself, I know that it takes a lot of creativity and, you know, to think of these activities. So I just want to give you kudos for that. Are these activities where you have rubrics? Did you, how are you measuring that they've acquired the knowledge? So is it through a rubric that you create?
So every week I kind of change it to where they get a document and it's all scenario based around either their board game or their booth. And they fill out the information and it's always related back to whatever math topic we're doing that week.
Okay, and what grade level, Ms. Cameron, are you?
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade. Well, again, you know, thank you for, you know, putting in that work because again, you know, I know that, you know, as educators, you know, it's incumbent on us to keep the students engaged and just, you know, having them learn while they're not even like thinking that they're learning, right? It's not such a task. So good job on that. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Great.
I just had a quick question for you. And I know we asked this to, I forget the English teacher's name that was here last time, but
Mr.
we
Martin
asked,
likes.
thank you, Martin Likes. But we asked him last time how he found the using less technology in the classroom was benefiting the students. Do you also find that in your class you're using technology less this year? And if so, how are the students reacting to that? And are they learning better or worse, I guess?
Honestly, I loved them not being able to connect to internet because it just kept them disconnected from that whole electronic world. So they were actually having fun participating in the games and creating these sketches and actually being able to use their imagination versus sometimes when it's online, they'll just search up stuff and then copy it. So it was nice to be able to see them to have some original thoughts and do things that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, imagination is such a huge thing. I'm glad they're getting to use theirs again. I struggle with that with my 7th grader. So maybe I'll just have him turn everything off and force him to go, you know, come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
Are we good? Thank you, Ms. Keller.
Thanks.
I got to figure out how to make you go back. I don't actually know how to do that. Oh, there we go. Learning on the go. All right, next up for me is discipline points. So last year, we had for the middle school and the elementary school that students had to earn 15 points before we had a meeting with the parents about future, whether they needed to go on a behavior contract or whether we were looking for another placement. But we have totally changed the behavior matrix, the discipline matrix, because last year you could earn points for things like being out of uniform, like those low level 1-point things. And we've taken all of that out. So students who are earning points are earning points for things like habitual behavior disruptions or fighting or threats. So they are earning more points, but less frequently, if that makes sense. So we are basically proposing that we knock that 15 points to 10, so that we can kind of bring kids who are struggling in sooner when they reach that 10-point threshold, and kind of make a decision about what kind of contract we want to go on, what sort of services do we need to address, or is this the right placement for you at this time? So that's kind of like our proposal. I'm not sure if that's something, because it's changing the handbook, does it have to get approved, or is it just a conversation piece?
I think that's a Sam question that I don't
Okay.
exactly know the answer to.
Okay.
Can we, if there does require a vote, let's vote on it next month.
Okay.
How many students do you think fall into that 10 versus 15 category? Like, do we have a whole bunch that are at 10 that need to have those, or just like a handful that?
I would say we're probably at less than 5 that are slowly creeping up there.
Okay, so it's not
Yeah.
going to be like a drastic change where parents are going to start getting calls left and right and need
No.
to go to speed.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, and honestly, most of the students that we are running into this is that habitual classroom behavior issue. Whereas we're having to remove this student for extreme disrespect repeatedly out of the room. And so I think bringing parents in, talking about the behavior contracts, talking about what our expectations are, I think that would be a huge piece. And we even have some students who have earned some points for things, and we put them on a contract where if they can like show improvement, they can earn a point back like every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks you go without, getting in trouble or being pulled out of class, we let you earn a point back so that you get off the edge of the cliff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna go that direction too, as long as it wasn't gonna become overwhelming in terms of habitual or increases in productivity when it comes to discipline. So as long as you guys foresee that, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
You forecast whatever what you're seeing now. So
Yeah, and it's really not a lot. It's just a couple of kids at the middle school, and maybe like 2 at the elementary, that it's just a constant thing.
And Miss Alexis, I think it's a great idea to lower, the threshold where you do meet, because definitely you want to catch those behaviors sooner than later. So hopefully, once we check in with Sam and vote, but I think you're on the right track with that.
Okay, thanks. I don't really have an update on facilities. The heater's working, so I mean that's a good plus,
Yay.
right? Though we do have some thermostat issues, but honestly, they are the thermostat issues we had way back in the day, where one room is like really hot and the next room next door is really cold. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know that we can fix it, because for all the years we've been in that building, it has been a problem. I checked enrollment yesterday, so officially we were at 425, I think, on 40 day. We're at 424. We lost one student for an extreme discipline issue. And yeah, so challenges and successes. Oh, okay. Mr. Zapata wanted me to let you know that he actually puts kids on a contract when they hit 5 points. So perfect.
Even better.
Yes. Challenges and successes. I mean, the challenges honestly stay the same. Traffic is constantly a battle. Traffic in the afternoon. I don't know how to overcome those, other than we keep encouraging people to put their kids on the bus. Successes. Oh my gosh, we had a Veterans Day activity yesterday that was really nice. The kids and the staff kind of decorated the fences. We had flags. We had a whole bunch of veterans come in to be celebrated. That was really amazing. We had the trunk or treat, big turnout for the trunk or treat. I'm trying to think of all the things that we have done. We just have a lot of events kind of happening. We have a Thanksgiving lunch coming up next week. So we're getting parents in the building. We have a parade They're doing a balloons over Broadway parade with the little kids. We have the big kids coming over and helping with their displays for that parade. We've started, Miss Edwards and Miss Badio has started a mentoring program where we have middle school kids come over during their flex and work either in the classroom or help out in the cafeteria. So there's honestly a lot of really amazing things happening on campus right now. The dash. Sam was working with me to update the dash plan. I believe that is it'll come to me, the 90-day plan. She actually has a meeting to talk with my instructional coach about some questions she has. I know I've seen a couple of emails about the dash plan. I have not had time to get to them today because it's been really a crazy week. So things have been a little hectic this week. But I'm working on it. And then our charter renewal progress, we got our questions from the PEC. And I have a meeting with Sam on Friday to talk about how we're going to address those and to start the presentation. And I already have 2 parents who have reached out and said that they're willing to do public comment at that meeting. So that's kind of where we're at.
While we talk about the hearing real quick, is there anybody from the governing board that would like to go up to Santa Fe for the hearing? I know Christine and I will both be there. And if you're not able to be there in person, we'd like for you to maybe log in for a little bit during the day if you're available. Because I think the more faces we show from our governing board, the better it's going to be and the more supported the PEC will probably feel from the school. So I'll kind of leave you guys to think if you're available, but it's December 10th. What time does it start? 8 or 9?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. So I think Christine, me, and Alexis are all going to go in person. But as soon as we get more information on the Zoom link or however they do their things up there, we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it. So
It's the same day as our governing meeting, right?
it is, and that's a separate topic down further because we'll have to decide if we want to do it the same day, if we want to push it to a different day, if we want to have it in December. I think we need to have it because there are a couple of things we're going to have to vote on next month, but we probably need to figure out what everyone's availability is to move it from that day. Go ahead.
The other thing, sorry, people are texting me and I'm like, the other thing is thinking about our contract negotiations. One of the pieces we need to talk about probably in December is, do we want to change our name? Because the PEC is 100% on board with that happening. My suggestion, and I have kind of used a little chat GPT to kind of figure this out, is I would like for our initials to stay EA. And the reason is really dumb, but it's because our email is EA Las Cruces, and I don't want to have to change your email again. So if we could come up with something that had the same initials would be awesome. And I'd like to officially change our logo to the one that has the like, I don't know what you would call it, the outside of the compass, but in the middle is a dragon. That way we're not doing like this major logo shift. We would then have to discuss kind of like where do we want to go with the dress code and the t-shirts and all of that piece. But that's kind of my idea if we want to put it on our agenda for December, talk about the name change.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to get parent buy-in for sure. Maybe we can get the kids involved in doing some type of survey to see who can come up with the best name and
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. So I think there's a lot of ways to get people involved in that. So it's not just a head administrator or governing board, this is your new name, with nobody's vote, because that's probably not going to go over real well.
Right.
But the more people we can get involved, I think the better. But we are going to be on a time crunch. If we have to do that for negotiations, that's February. So that doesn't leave us a ton of time to get creative and reach out to folks. But we can start rolling out surveys if everybody kind of agrees that a new name is probably the right direction, which I happen to agree to. I don't know if anybody else feels differently, but
Now, the main reason we want to have a name change is so that we can spotlight differently than the Explore Academies, I don't know what you would call it, the group of schools. Is that
Yeah, I
correct?
think there's still a stigma behind Explore Academy.
Especially in
And
this
not
community.
and not a good stigma. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed, I think.
Yeah, and I think everything else kind of stays the same. The learning model stays the same, the staff stays the same, the location still stays the same for now. All of those things stay. Literally, it's just the name change and the partial logo change. Which I think sets us a little bit apart from being consolidated with all of the other explorers.
Sure, and of course, we've seen, this year there was several schools that rename, and it happens every year. So
Yep.
now, as we think about that, like you were talking about dress code, the shirts or whatever, the logos. I mean, we're taking into account the budget that it's going to take to replace all of that.
So I have talked to Josh a little bit, and depending on how extensively we need to change things, because I don't think a lot of it aesthetically is going to be required. Like we're going to need the signs that are out front of the school. So I think there's 2 big signs, and then there's like the curbside half circle sign that's out there. But those won't be incredibly expensive. And then maybe some banners and things, but otherwise that's really it. Everything else is digital unless I'm missing a bunch of stuff.
And I think he said one of the biggest hurdles is going to be just going in and changing your name in the bank account and with the
Yeah.
IRS. Like there's a lot of that minutia piece that has to be done.
Yeah, and I think even with t-shirts and stuff, like I'll leave this, way up to Alexis to decide, but is that the point where then we can write a more comprehensive dress code that doesn't require uniforms? Or because that gives us plenty of time before next school year to even start working on that and making sure we have something in place. Maybe we aren't a uniform school next year. Maybe we are. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But maybe we're not, and that solves some of that monetary piece for having people buy new uniforms with just different logos or different names.
Or maybe we consider just like color. I've seen
Yep.
uniforms that are just color based, right?
Yep.
So I mean that could be an option depending
Mm-hmm.
what our goal is. Like,
Right.
I know that a lot of times dress code just connects the students almost like a family, right? So I don't know if we've talked about that. I mean, what is the purpose of the dress code? What are we looking for? Why did we establish it? What's the purpose of it now?
I don't know if anybody was here around when it was established, but I think it was just an Explore policy. Under the Explore Schools umbrella, there was a dress code, and Gabby might know. There was a dress code, and this is the shirt.
Yeah,
I,
the
I
way
think,
they pretty
yeah,
much did it. Mhm.
yeah, it's for those purposes that you just talked about, Violeta,
Yeah.
to bring that culture, that unity, and at least that's my understanding when I came in previously. So it was already embedded and established. So
So has anybody thought of like the impact, like that will affect, I mean, if that was the original intent is to bring the culture together, kind of like unity, what would moving away from that do to the culture? I mean,
Well, and we could keep the dress code too and just change it so maybe it's only the logo instead of the words, or do something different too. Because we do have the McKinney Vento and we have all the closets with all of the uniforms and stuff that I'm sure we could replenish over the course of the next year as we try and start changing stuff. And so people who need uniforms and who can't afford them, we could certainly still continue to give those out. I don't think any of that changes. And then we have the families that are fine going out and buying, 3 to 5 shirts or whatever that looks like, which they'll have to do anyways because their kids are growing. So it's a lot of it is just you're going to potentially swap a logo for something else or a verbiage for something else. But I think most families, mine does at least, we prepare every year that at least once a year we have to go out and buy new uniform shirts because all of my kids have outgrown everything that they've got. So,
And one of the other things too that you'll run into is if you move away, I think, from the dress code, you're gonna have some of the issues that you start to see with your regular high schools or middle schools and stuff where the kids aren't dressing appropriately, or they'll start wearing less, or clothes, or like the torn jeans and stuff, and then you're gonna have some disciplinary issues and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Gabriella. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we have time to talk about it. It's not a huge thing, but we did just, I mean, Alexis and I talked earlier, we wanted to start making everybody aware that this is probably going to be in the works for the name change, so we can start considering all these second, third hand effects that we're going to have to kind of work through as we talk about doing a name change.
And I can totally put the survey out and start asking for feedback. I just wanted to run it by you guys before I put that in the parent newsletter.
Yeah, I think for the community, a name change is probably needed.
And then people can be like, oh, that blank academy on Telshore, traffic all the time.
They're going to get worse with the construction.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure something out. So, all right. Anything else, Alexis?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right. Anybody else got anything for Alexis before we move on? No. All right. I will move on to governing council business then. First thing up, audit committee community member. Christine was able to talk to Linnell Pahi, and she graciously volunteered to be part of the audit as a community member since she is no longer a board member. So that fulfills our last checkbox for community members and parents and external folks that are needed for that audit committee. So Josh already has all of her information, so he has submitted her to be part of the audit committee. So whenever they're done doing their audit, they'll get a hold of everybody and they'll start working through that. But we did just want to, oh, that's a vote. Sorry, I'm glad Sam put that on there. So we all have to vote to let Linnell be part of the audit committee. So Violetta, if you wouldn't mind just doing a roll call real quick for everybody.
Absolutely. Terry Moore,
Yes, sure.
Gabriela Graham,
Yes.
Ray Gomez,
Yes.
Angel Rivera,
Yes.
Violetta Paxton, yes.
All right. I don't think I got a second. Did I even motion?
No.
I think I just said let's vote. Okay, can we do that over real quick? Sorry. I'm gonna motion that we add Linnell Pahi as our community member because she volunteered for the audit committee. Can somebody
Second that
second?
motion. I
Okay,
second that motion.
and then one more time, Violetta.
Okay.
Sam.
So Gabriela Graham,
Yes.
Ray Gomez,
Yes.
Terry Moore,
Yes,
Angel Rivera,
Yes.
Violetta Paxton, yes.
All right, thanks. Motion passes now. Okay, next thing on the list, the capital outlay discussion. So we have a meeting tomorrow if anybody is interested in attending about capital outlay funds. Basically, they have to be used for infrastructure improvements, but since we don't have a lease purchase agreement for our campus, we are very limited in any infrastructure improvements we can make. So talking to our grants lady who's doing our capital outlay, we kind of came to the conclusion that maybe the best use of the funds was to get a couple portables that we could throw in the back parking lot that would give us a little bit of extra space that we could use maybe for specials for elementary school. So instead of the specials pushing into the classrooms and not really giving the teachers a break, they can take those specials out to their portables, make as much music as they want to out there, and get as messy as they want to in art class out in their own portable. Because we have like a $200,000 cap before we have to do additional lobbying through Congress to get more funding. So with that 200,000, we can get 2 portables for the back. Now, Explore still will be on the hook to, well, let me say it, the capital outlay grant does not include funds to help like run electricity out there or whatever water, if water is needed out there. And so we'll have to come up with some funds to do some of that, which Josh also is aware of. And we can make that work into next year's budget. But I think the plan right now, is that we're gonna do the capital outlay with the 2 portable requests, for going into the next year. So unless anybody has issues with that, or wants to go a completely different direction of something I haven't thought of yet, that's a little bit outside of the box, I'm all ears, but we've kind of been backed into a corner just a little bit for not owning the building.
Okay, so if we were to do that, like you mentioned, you know, running the electricity and all of that, I'm like, we're still looking at our budget, we're considering what we have. And you know, I've at the school I'm at, we've had to have portables became a nightmare because they had to be modified. The doors were an issue. The windows. I mean, and all of that. You know, added to money. Have
Yep.
we done our homework to look to see that we can buy suitable portables for that?
So from what I have heard, the answer is yes. Now, this is what I was told about the process. Now, I'm going to learn tomorrow in this meeting if this is actually the process, but this is what I've been told, is we have to submit for what we would like, and then as part of that approval process, then we have to go out and get a consultant to do their surveying and things and help us pick out the actual portables. And then once the consultant helps us with all of the parameters and specifications that we need for those, then we go out and do the actual purchasing. And all of that, whatever that is, has to be less than the 200,000. So that's how I understand it. Now, I understand that portables are not everyone's best friend. And we really could just say, you know what, this year we're not going to do any capital outlay. But I would rather give us a chance to have a little extra space, because there really isn't space for us to create within a building that we have. So I have talked to Josh several times, and I've talked to Deb just about what it's going to cost to run that electrical and stuff, and it will all depend on where the electrical boxes and stuff are. There should be one right behind building 2, so it's not going to be a huge run for electricity. Maybe 150 yards, maybe feet. I don't know. I don't know how far it is back there. It's very vastly different amounts of space, but they said it was probably about 20,000 a portable, 25,000 a portable, which doesn't seem super unreasonable to get them up and going. And we have the funds that we can make that work, especially because we're being so fiscally responsible this year, that we should have some extra funds that we can set aside to make sure that we can get all those up and running however we need to.
And we would include a bathroom, like it would have a bathroom or?
So probably not. So they'll probably just be the bare bones portables, and because they're only doing specials out there, they would only be out there for the 1 period, and then they would go back to the main room. And we could always, there are bathrooms right in the back of building 2, which is probably the 150 feet from where the portables would sit. And so they could just walk over to those bathrooms in building 2 to use them. Because those are elementary bathrooms. That building 2 is an elementary building. And so it would just be elementary to elementary, because the middle schoolers wouldn't need to be in those portables at all.
Well, it sounds like we do have quite a bit of a cushion. If you're talking 25,000, you know, per portable, because that.
No, the 25,000 is what we would have to come up with to run the electricity and stuff. Portables themselves are probably about 95,000 each.
Okay, and what about AC heater, you know?
So as far as I understand, all of that was included within that price that she gave me.
Oh, okay.
So, but it would just be the bare minimum, and we wouldn't have to worry about furniture for them, because we have all the furniture that we brought over from Del Rey that's sitting out in the Connex that's next to the school. So we'd have tables covered already, chairs covered already. I don't think there would be a ton else that's needed unless the teachers wanted to put some things on the walls or things. But I will find out more and make sure and get everybody on the same page with it. But portables did seem to be the best option that I could find, because I know last month we talked about maybe doing HVAC and things, but we're not allowed to because we don't have a lease purchase agreement, even though our lease says that we're responsible for the HVAC units, the capital outlay people don't consider that whenever they're telling us yes or no.
So this meeting, is it a Zoom meeting in person?
It is a Zoom meeting,
What-
yeah.
a Zoom
And I can
meeting?
send it to whoever wants to attend.
At what time?
Let me look. It's tomorrow at
Alexis has a 1
1:00.
on
Yeah.
her finger.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't looking at you. 1:00. Yeah.
Okay, and usually those Zoom meetings are recorded, right? So we could always ask for, because I'd be interested in joining, but I can probably tell you
Okay.
that I won't have time.
Yeah. I can certainly ask if they aren't being recorded to have them record it. And then see, and then try and get the link so we can send it out. Because
Yeah.
it looks like it's the capital outlay request training for the 2026 legislative session is what it's actually titled.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I will forward it to you though, all of you. So if anybody wants to go tomorrow, you guys are more than welcome. And then if you have the forwarded link, then you should also be able to get the recording once it's available. But yeah. Any other questions on capital outlay stuff? No. All right. Grant updates. The first two were in the bars that Josh went over earlier. So the PEC initiative grant that we're using for the HR help that we've been getting. So that one should be good to go. As soon as that bar is approved, we'll be able to have him submit his invoice, and then we'll be able to start paying him for all the help that he's been able to give Alexis over the last month or 2 or 3. I don't even know how long it's been. But he's been great. We're very, very pleased. And then the GOB library grant was also awarded, and that is $10,000 for library items. So we can use it on furniture or we can use it on books, but the books all have to go through an approval process with the PEC or the PED, whoever it's through. And so Josh's recommendation was we just use it for like library furniture. And we can use that library furniture for in the library, or we can use it for classroom libraries, kind of wherever the need is where we can use that $10,000. So that one specifically, because it's coming out at the end of this year, I don't know exactly when the end time frame is to spend that $10,000, but it is not in June. It is a longer than a year grant, so we will have a little bit longer to be able to use that funding, depending on where we want to use it. And then the Ben Carson Reading Room. So we are well on our way to do the reading room. I'm super excited about it. We got all the furniture moved the other day so we can do the dragon backdrops and things that are going on in there. And then we've scheduled the grand opening. So I don't know if any of you are interested in attending. The grand opening will be in February. And it'll be a big to-do. Since we're the first one in New Mexico, I'm sure we'll have a few people there, at least from the reading room place. But we're working on all the book lists. All the teachers are putting in their recommendations. So we'll have at least 500 books as part of that reading room initiative. And then we've probably got 3,000 books on the checkout side of our library that we'll also be able to open at the same time. So our kids can start using the library as a whole for middle schoolers, elementary schoolers, everybody, and start going through that checkout process for books too. So super excited about that one. Any questions on grants? We do still have one outstanding, another one of the PEC grants that we are planning on using on the procurement training that we talked about last month. So that one should be coming, just a matter of when. Okay. Nothing else there. Okay. So the next couple ones are policy reviews. I don't think any of these will require a huge lift because most of them have been gone through within the last probably 6 to 8 months. But as part of what we had agreed upon the last couple meetings, I wanted to take a handful or less of policies every month and just kind of review them, get through them, so we're not having to do massive amounts of policy updates all at the same time. So everybody did get these as part of the agenda, so I just kind of want to walk through them one at a time. Some of them are very short, some of them are, like 2 pages. So none of them are super long, but did everybody have a chance to look at them, or do I need to, who's raising their hand? Nobody?
Me.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. I just wanted to ask you real quickly before
Hmm?
we begin. So these are these policies we've have used in HR. They're HR aligned. Did we work with someone in HR? So we have that alignment with these.
Yeah, so all of these were previously approved policies that the school had adopted for the last, probably since the beginning. So they have adjusted slightly over time as needed, is my understanding. So this will be the first time I think all of us except Gabby have probably thoroughly read through these. But yes, they should align with all of the HR, all of the legal things, the boxes that they're required to check.
Okay, okay, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys want me to display them or if you just want to talk about them if you've had a chance to read them. Um, I'll kind of let somebody weigh in because we can do this several ways.
They're pretty much straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
self-explanatory in terms of what the expectation and the guidelines are. So they're just basic in terms of what you typically see. I mean, obviously, a little bit more different in bigger districts, but
Yeah.
Smaller districts or charters or privates is typically what you see as far as the language. So I reviewed them, and the language is, like I said, pretty clear, concise, and to the point in regards to what the expectations are for that policy.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree also. I read them thoroughly and stuff, so yeah. They're easy to read for anybody that's reading them.
Yeah.
I don't know if commonsensical is a word, but they're commonsensical.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did ask Alexis, I don't know if you were able to get a hold of Rachel, because the McKinney-Vento is one of the ones that we're reviewing, just to see about how many kids currently qualify under that. So we can see, just ask a couple questions about it, to get a little bit more information on the scope of the students that we're dealing with.
Currently we have 13 students who qualify for McKinney-Vento.
Okay. And it looked like most of the policy was around if you think you qualify, but the school says you don't qualify, here's all of your dispute steps that you need to take. I don't know if we've ever turned anybody away from help
Yeah,
in this regard, or
that's the one that kind of just got my attention, because under the McKinney-Vento Fed guideline, it's very broad and vague as to who qualifies, or and so it's pretty much anybody that is identified under those terms,
right.
under those guidelines. So that one was a little bit interesting, but I'm assuming there's been disputes on whether they were identified correctly or not, and so it behooves us not to have it, right?
Yeah.
Or have it. So
Yeah, I thought it was pretty extensive dispute, which led me to also believe that there's a reason for it. And then I think the only other one in here that I had any comments on was, once we do approve the actual conflict of interest form, all of us are going to need to fill it out and sign it so we have it on file. That is a yearly requirement, I think, for the board, and I don't know if I've done one since I got on the board, but if I did, it was last school year. And so I think, Terry, you're probably in the same boat as me. Ray,
Yeah,
Viola,
we did.
does-
We did one. We did
Okay.
one. There was 3 or 4 things that we had to do, and it
Yeah.
all came in. Yeah, we did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's a school year thing, or if it's just we'll just pick a month and then everybody's on the same page, and then everybody will be due at the same time kind of thing. Makes it a little easier to track. But once that one does get approved, everybody's gonna need to fill it out so we can file it. So based on these 5 policies, the access to legal counsel, head admin, principal information, homeless McKinney-Vento dispute resolution, anti-nepotism, or conflict of interest. Is there any of them we need to discuss further that require modifications of any kind?
Nothing on my end, nothing I can think of. Like I said, it's pretty much straightforward and to the point, so.
Okay.
So on my end, it's very minor. You're talking, like on page
Which policy?
the McKinney-Vento one,
Okay.
page 3 of 3,
Mm-hmm.
11.11.
Okay.
The very bottom, it says, the parent, guardian, or student may also initiate an appeal.
Mhm.
One where it says, or to the department's homeless liaison, are we talking the New Mexico and NMPED?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they reference them up top somewhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
in number
10.
3. Oh, did they right above it too?
Yeah,
It is.
on
Okay, so
10.
New Mexico Public Education Department's homeless liaison. So if we want to add that same verbiage, just to make everything very plain, the New Mexico Public Education Department.
Right, because when I first, read it, I'm like, okay, are they talking about like do we have a department liaison or a homeless
Well,
liaison at the school?
we have a school liaison.
Okay, so I
And I
guess,
don't think that's who they're talking about.
right, so, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, that, I don't know, I mean, it's just very
Yeah,
minor.
no, it's a good clarification. I think that's fine. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay. Okay, so since all of our policies have to be voted on, I'm gonna make a motion then to approve the access to legal counsel, the head admin principal information, the homeless McKinney-Vento dispute resolution with the modification on page 3, number 11, that we add in a clarifying New Mexico PED Department Homeless Liaison, the anti-nepotism and the conflict of interest policy, as they have already been written and previously approved.
I'll second
Was
that.
was that a motion?
It was a motion. It was just a really long one. But I started it with I motion, so I didn't have to say it again. Okay, Viola, do you want to do a roll call real quick?
Yes, ma'am. Gabriela Graham,
Yes.
Ray Gomez,
Yes.
Terry Moore,
Yes.
Angel Rivera,
Yes.
and Violeta Paxton, yes.
All right, motion passes. So we'll have Sam make that one minor modification to the McKinney-Vento one, and then we'll get those officially formatted and then published on the governing council site. And I'm not sure if they go somewhere else. I'll have Sam tell me. Okay. Moving on to the next one. December governing council meeting date. So as we were talking about previously, December 10th is also the day of the charter hearing. So I don't think we're gonna want to sit in the hearing all day because I expect it to be an all-day affair with lots of questions. And then also have a governing meeting that night. So I would prefer to move it to another day. It does not have to be that week. If Wednesdays work well for everyone, we can either move it up a Wednesday or back a Wednesday because I don't want to interfere with Christmas. So if it's any further than 1 week back, that's no good anymore. But does Wednesdays work for everyone where they would prefer either the week before or the week after?
For me, they do, and I would prefer like move it forward on the 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, is that what it is? December 3rd?
Yeah.
I'm with Violeta.
Okay.
I
'Cause we
agree with
will- Okay, awesome. So let's move it then to December 3rd. I'll check with Christine. Does that work for you, Alexis? Okay. Because I know we did have an email come out about the school calendar. Had a couple verbiage disputes for days that said no school, but should have said term break and makeup days. And so we need to fix that verbiage to make sure that we still get all of the funding that we should be getting for when students are in school. And with that, we have to do a memo, and then the board has to vote on that memo. And we have to have it done before the end of the year, which is why we need to have the December meeting. And then we'll also talk about the name change stuff a little bit more in December. And if we have to vote on the discipline points, we can do that. But I will tentatively mark it then for December 3 at 6 p.m.
Miss
Okay.
Amy,
Yes.
with that calendar change, we would be talking about not necessarily days that already passed. We need to change things that are coming up.
So it's just a verbiage change. So the calendar days all stay exactly as they've already been approved, but the verbiage on our current calendar says on some days no school when it should say term break / makeup testing / field trip day. So students can still go in on those days. And they aren't in fact officially no school for every student.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. You know, those are days that are coming up, not days that have already passed.
So we'll have to modify the 2 that have already passed as well, because we did have students come in those days for makeup testing and things. So they shouldn't have been counted as no school days because there were students that did come to school those days.
Okay, okay.
So it'll be for the whole year.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
And I
thank
think
you.
it's a total of like 9 days, I think is what I saw, maybe 8 for the term break days. So it's just a verbiage change.
Okay.
No official days changing any direction. So, okay. And then last item that I've got is, so December 11th and 12th, there is the PCS&M New Mexico conference that is happening in Santa Fe. So that is the Public Charter School, New Mexico. They're going to have a ton of vendors there. They're going to have trainings for governing board members, for head administrators, principals, the whole shebang. And they're putting it on at the Tamiya up in Santa Fe. This is the first year that the school has been able to sponsor, for lack of a better word, some governing council members to go to the PCS&M conference. So I would like to go. I think Christina is going to try and go. If anyone else is interested in going, we have to submit our whoever wants to go by this Friday. So we can take at least one more person until we wind up with more than a quorum. I know everybody has day jobs, so if you are unavailable to attend, totally fine. But I did just want to extend the invitation to everybody. That it'll probably be a lot of good sessions, knowledge, just things that we can take back to make the board better and the school better. So Christine and I are happy to pass all that on and take copious amounts of notes, though, if you guys can't attend in person. So, if you do want any more information or want to go, feel free to email me, text me, whatever, and we can square that away before Friday. All right, moving on, board comments. I don't think I have any board comments other than still a few folks that are missing training. I know we have until June, but don't get all the way to June without your training, please. Even hacking away at it a little bit, showing progress is a good thing. So I think that's all I got. Anybody else have anything for the group? No? Alexis, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
All right,
I'm like
thanks
trying to search my brain. Like, oh, I don't think so.
That's all right. That's okay. Thanks for running the webinar tonight for Sam. We really appreciate that. And if there's nothing else, so the adjournment then, the next regular meeting will be Wednesday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. But I will adjourn this meeting at 7:15 p.m. Thanks for your time tonight, guys. I think the policy review is good. I think we'll keep doing that.
So you need to take a vote for adjourn. For
What's that?
adjourning.
Oh, we have to take a vote? Oh, who's in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Don't forget to stop the recording too.
Doesn't it just stop when I hit?
I hope so, but I don't know.
I'm gonna hit stop. All right.
Okay.